Welcome to the Bringing Up Business podcast, where we talk about business and parenting. I am your host, Kaila Sachse, toddler mom and owner of a marketing and creative agency called Umari Digital. I'm excited to chat with today's inspiring and super lovely guest, Doris Muscarella. Doris and I crossed paths last year. I was tasked with elevating a client's social media account for a new brand here in the US, and Doris landed in our DMs. I'm so glad that she reached out. She ended up connecting us to an amazing radio opportunity where she and a co-host interviewed me and our client live on the air. And from there, our partnership has blossomed. I want to share her story today on Bringing Up Business because her story is incredibly inspiring. She is the founder of Doris Business Development, a boutique consulting firm that merges the influence of media with the appeal of golf to drive meaningful growth for businesses. She is also the proud mother of two strong and capable young women. As a single mother, she worked tirelessly, often holding two jobs, to support her family and build her business from the ground up. Those challenging years taught her the true meaning of resilience and determination. Today, she is proud to see those same values reflected in her daughters. Doris, I'm honored to get to hang out with you again, and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. You almost made me cry as you were reading that.
That's all you. You did that.
I did that. I just was a lot of work, but it was all worth it. Absolutely.
I can only imagine. Can you help us understand your story? Where did you start? Did parenting come first? Did the business come first? What did it all look like for you?
So I was married. I had two beautiful daughters, and things went south for me. So my ex-husband left, and he told me before he left, he said, you're never going to make it. You're going to be a failure. And you know what? That fueled the fire. So it fueled my fire, and I said, you are going to watch me. And I have to tell you, it was very difficult. I had to pay a mortgage on my own. I had to raise two daughters on my own. So I decided one job was not enough. I worked in the legal field. I did intake to trial. I managed law firms. I did business development, but it just wasn't enough. So I decided that I've always been into PR and marketing. So I decided I would focus on that, and I started to write press releases. I started to market primarily nonprofit organizations that couldn't get off the ground. Love nonprofits, always giving back. So that helped me. My daughters, I lived in Miami, Florida, and Miami, Florida has what's called the Florida Prepaid College. So that I started when they were very young, which was a blessing in disguise, because you never know what the future is going to bring. So be ready and be prepared. And I always have plan A, plan B, and plan C. And I always, even when I was married, I always had plan A, plan B, plan C. So when I was divorced, I already said, okay, well, their college is already in the works. So I don't have to worry about that. I have to worry about that days in, days out. So my daughters graduated from high school and they started to go to college. And of course, they started to work. And what I did is they were growing up. They saw a mother and a father in me. So I would tell them, you have to always be strong. You have to be resilient to whatever happens, and you can't ever give up. And I lived in Miami where they speak Spanish and English. My ex-husband was Cuban. I am from San Juan, Puerto Rico. However, because we lived in the United States, we didn't want to use Spanish. Don't ask me why, because it backfired. We only spoke English in the household. So we only spoke English. So when my daughters graduated from high school, they were trying to get jobs. They were trying to get, and we're in Miami. So my oldest daughter wanted to get into Warner Brothers as an intern. And she went and gave her resume, and they said, do you speak Spanish? Because it was Warner Brothers International Division. And she said, no, not really. So they said, we need somebody in Spanish. And she came back to the house and said, Mom, I'm crying, very upset. I didn't get the job. I don't speak Spanish. You never taught me how to speak Spanish. I said, okay, I'm going to tell you what I learned when I came from Puerto Rico. Right? When I came from Puerto Rico, I was 16 years old. Didn't speak that much English. I did understand it, but I didn't speak that much English. And I went to an English class and I got the biggest F. So I went to the teacher and I said, I don't like this F. I want an A in this class.
Yes.
And he said, well, you're going to have to work for it. I said, I want to speak English. And this was a long time ago, like an American where I have no accent, where nobody knows where I come from. And he says, well, you have to do the following. You have to think in English. You have to watch TV in English. You have to watch the radio in English and you read in English and you don't, and think in English. Don't speak Spanish again. Exactly what I did. So when my daughter didn't get the job, I said, okay, I'm going to tell you what my English teacher taught me. And you're going to go back in a month. You're going to dress in a suit and you're going to ask for the same job. So she did that and she got the job. She worked for them for 8 years.
What?
Yeah, she got the job and she worked for 8 years for them, which launched her career in marketing. My other daughter, who refused to learn Spanish, and as you know, in high school, you have a second language. You could take Spanish or French. Well, she took French because she hated Spanish. I'm never going to speak Spanish. I don't want to. So fast forward, she studied and she became a doctor. And she became a doctor, and she wanted to get into a hospital in Miami. And they said, "Do you speak Spanish?" She goes, "No." They said, "Sorry, but if you don't speak Spanish, you can't get the job." So I went back to the same thing. I said, if you really, really want this job, this is what you're going to do. She's been working in Miami for 5 years and she's working for the hospital.
My
So
gosh.
resilience.
Yes. Yes. There's that persistence. Oh my God. Okay. So maybe that's something I need to try. I have been trying to, let me back up. My husband is Filipino. He understands Tagalog, but he doesn't speak it. And so together, he and I, with our toddler, we're all learning how to speak it together. And
Mhm.
for me, it feels like it's been really sluggish. And I just have to do it the Doris way. I just got to immerse myself for a month and then I'll be a pro, apparently. That's just like,
You
oh
know, if you
man.
really want something, if you really, really want something, the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
The sky is the limit. Never give up. Try. I tried. It was brutal. Raising two daughters on my own in Miami. I did have to sell the house because I couldn't afford it, and I moved to Fort Lauderdale, where I commuted on a daily basis to Miami. I drove because I didn't want to uproot them from their schools. So I did that for a year. I did whatever I had to do to raise them, work two jobs, and it really paid off. One of them is working at right now in New York for a Fortune 500 company on
Wow.
her own, has her own place overlooking the Hudson River.
Oh my
And
gosh.
then the other one is the head of a she works at the Miami Cancer Institute, working as the head of the division that they have there. And they did it because
Like,
we worked at it.
yeah. 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 And they obviously had a powerful role model. And it sounds like you were in their corner to back them up. When they felt stuck, they had that comfort with you to go to you and say, Mom, I need help. And you were there for them. And it's just such a beautiful so for me, the way that I'm approaching how I raise my son, I really want to keep those lines of communication open. And he's two, right? So there isn't a whole lot of communication past like, tired, hungry, all the basics right now. But I hope that I can just have that same relationship with him that it sounds like you have with your daughters, where they can come to you or he can come to me, we can talk it out and work through things.
Yeah, communication is very important,
What do
and
you think
transparency.
in
You know,
transparency? Tell me.
don't don't think you're mom, because sometimes they tell you, like in our culture, they tell you to always don't cry in front of your kids,
Mm,
don't show your emotions, always be strong.
mm,
But we're human. There are days that it's great and there are days that are not. So be you.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that is so inspiring to hear. I once heard that your kid doesn't need a perfect parent. Your kid needs a human parent. So
Correct.
you have to be 100% in who you are and all of the things, all of the ick. And I can envision that being where if you are if you're having that upset day, yes, they see you upset, they see you cry, and they see you maybe even, feeling angry and all of those expressions. But then they get to see you work through it and resolve it. And that is a way to model for them how to do the same thing. So they aren't
Correct.
floundering and lost when they have those big emotions for themselves.
Correct.
Yeah. So tell us, okay, so you obviously you have done a killer job in raising two powerhouse women. What has business looked like for you? When did you decide to start it? How did you start it? What inspired it? All of the things.
So I worked, as I said, in the legal field for many years. I made a lot of attorneys very wealthy with my skills, talent, and experience. So a couple of years ago, I always worked sidebar. I always work in the nonprofit arena. I always worked in charitable fundraising, PR, marketing, whatever. And it was a couple of years ago. I think it was like after COVID or before COVID. Yeah, before COVID, I started the business. After COVID, I decided to go full speed ahead. And I said, I'm going to use all my skills, my talent, and everything I have and just start my own business and go for it. Was it hard? Absolutely. All right. Very difficult. The good thing is that I'm knowledge hungry. I have to constantly be learning. That just fills my heart. So I took classes. I still do. I put in my calendar an hour a day to learn something new. I'm a readaholic. I read every book you can think of. So with that, I continue to improve. And that I highly recommend it. There is a book there is a couple of books that I could start to tell you about, but one of them was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Okay.
Yes.
Inspirational. Mark Victor Hansen is another writer that is very inspirational. All these books inspire you. So when I don't feel I'm inspired, I read one of the books or I listen to a podcast, which are now so accessible to us that are great. So, I inspire myself. I work hard. I incorporated golf because I love golf. I learned it it's going to be 10 years I learned it. When you're playing golf, for those that are golfers, you're out there for hours and you listen to, I need, I want, do you know anybody? Boom, referral, lead, referral. So I incorporated golf. I love the media. I write press releases. I was on the radio in the golf and travel show. I'm launching my podcast. So the media is a very good avenue, but if you take them all together and you combine them, it's a game changer.
Oh my goodness. So you touched on spending an hour every day learning something. It sounds like that is a blend of hard skills, maybe education that can contribute to your business career, but also soft skills, that personal development, that self-improvement. I can also see how I also golf, and there are moments out on the course when, oh my gosh, I am just kicking myself. I'm starting to get into my head. I'm feeling frustrated. I can't make a shot or whatever it is. I'm having a rough day or just a rough hole. And my mental tape starts to play, right? We have the old stories that we tell ourselves. And golf is such a cool sport for being able to switch the paradigm, right? And just say, okay, you know what? That was a bad shot. I'm going to put that in the past. Let's move forward. Have you had the same experience with golf, or has golf taught anything to you where,
Oh,
you've
yes.
highlighted some things? Yeah.
Think of golf as your life, right? For
Hmm.
example, when I
Hmm.
learned to play golf, I was told to keep my eye on the ball because you got to keep you bend, you hit the ball, you got to look at it. So I think about life. Okay, if you don't keep your eye on your goals and what you want to achieve, you will never get there. So it's like keep your eye on the ball. If you don't keep your eye on the ball, you can't hit it. Okay. When you go out to a golf course and those people that play golf, you analyze, you're very strategic. You're like, okay, what's the yardage? What's the club? Where am I going to hit? What's my target? Same thing in marketing. You can't just, hit a ball and hope it goes to the hole. So in marketing, you target your target audience. Don't waste time. Don't waste, there's a lot of groups or networking groups that are not your target market. Don't waste your time and money. It's like, you want to focus, you want to have a strategic idea, your yards, everything, and then hit the ball.
Oh my goodness, what a cool metaphor. That is, yes, nailed it. So let's talk about finding your target market as a business owner, right? It's not from what I've discovered through working with many clients, you don't just create a product, build it, and then the audience will just come. Like they'll just appear out of nowhere. You don't just set up a website and you don't just launch a product catalog and then poof, you're selling things. There's a bridge between those two, between the two. So how do you find your target audience and then what do you do next?
So I like the challenge. Okay. So I like and I get calls and they will tell me, well, I've been doing this for a couple of years and it's not working and whatever. And I'm like, okay, I will think out of the box and I will do marketing out of the box. And they're like, no, I want to stay where I'm at. Okay. That's not who I want to work with. I have a client that hired me for 3 months and, she says, it's a very difficult market. This is what you have to do. I said, I'm going to try it, but if it doesn't work, I'm going to come back. And I did. I said, this doesn't work. Okay. The way that I think you should do it is this way, out of the box thinking, go directly to the target market. She wanted me to work on one-on-one, finding leads one-on-one. I said, no. What if I go to a group that earns the amount of money that needs to pay your which is pretty much the country club industry that pays your fees. She goes, I've tried to get in there. I've never gotten in there. I said, okay, give me a chance. As of today, we're in 7 country clubs
Let's go.
because of thinking out of the box. So thinking out of the box, being unique, and the fact that I was a single mother with 2 kids, I had to make ends meet. I had to be creative. I sold Avon, I sold Tupperware, I sold everything you could think of because I had to meet the mortgage and stuff. Same thing with your marketing. Think out of the box. We have a lot of tools. Internet is free. Some of the social media is absolutely free. Target your audience.
Yeah. And now a quick message from our sponsor. If you've ever played golf, you know that it's more than just a game, it's a statement. Omnix Golf is providing golfers a bold new way to express themselves on and off the course. Their premium golf bags and accessories combine top-tier functionality with standout style, empowering you to bring personality to your play. Whether you're aiming for a clean, classic look, like my Omnix golf bag, or you're looking for something that turns heads at the tee box, Omnix has you covered with gear that's as unique as your fashion. Designed for performance and built to last, every Omnix golf product reflects their commitment to quality, innovation, and individuality with unmatched, unrestrained, and vividly bold golf bags. If you're ready to elevate your golf game and style, visit omnixgolfusa.com and try a new bag with their 6-month guarantee. And you can save 10% on your Omnix Golf order with coupon code BUB. That's omnixgolfusa.com, coupon code BUB. Let your gear speak for you, because at Omnix Golf, the course is your canvas. Thank you for staying with us, and back to the show. What advice would you give to the business owner who is afraid of putting themselves out there? And more specifically, there is a crossover between marketing and sales. No matter which, you have to put yourself out there, get in front of the people who you need to get in front of, and you need to give the pitch in one way or another. So what would you say to the business owner who's like, I don't like marketing, I don't like sales, it makes me uncomfortable? What do you do? What do they do?
Okay, so if you have the resources, you hire somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you hire
Yeah.
somebody. If you don't have the resources, train. Okay, read. Take courses online. One, I am a big fan of LinkedIn. LinkedIn offers courses that you can learn. always learn, always constantly evolve. Because what you're doing, if you're doing, and then there's a saying that says, if you're doing something and you repeat it and you repeat it and it's not working, then stop. Reinvent yourself. There is a book that I highly recommend. It's called Twist.
Oh, what is
Highly
twisted?
recommend Twist. Twist your brand. Okay.
Oh,
So there are 100 people that do business development. So I went to networking groups and everybody's selling their business. And I'm like, okay, how can I stand out? A friend of mine said, get the book Twist. And it says, twist the brand, try it this way. Doesn't work. Twist it again, try it this way. Okay. So how many people do you know that do PR and marketing with golf and the media?
just one, Miss Doris Muscarella.
Think about it. Think about it, and if it doesn't work and people start to do the same thing I'm doing, I'm going to twist it again and I'm
Yeah.
going to change it again. Constantly evolve. You have to always make yourself relevant. Set yourself apart from the competition. Be different, be unique. It's hit or miss sometimes, okay? But one of them will stick and work.
Right, right. Well, that's a really cool lesson for the business owner, right? Yes, you're going to invest your time, maybe some money, energy, your team into trying a new thing. There is a chance that it will flop, and that's okay. Because if it fails, now you have more data to move forward with the next idea. You just got to make sure the next idea is different, right? Don't do that same initial idea that failed over and over again, thinking that it's going to work.
Right. And also in social media, everybody does sales. You make a connection in LinkedIn, and the first thing they do is sell. That doesn't work. Build a relationship. Um, I, my stepdaughter and I were always we would travel and take pictures and stuff and post in Facebook and I got tired of it. She kept on. She was always on. Okay. As of today, she is an Amazon influencer because of those videos. So never give up. Keep on trying. I gave up. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm done. This is
Yeah.
not happening. This is not working for me. And she just kept on going, 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 going. One video was all it took. It went viral. So never give up. Be resilient. If you fall down, like a 2-year old or no, 1-year old, they fall down when they're starting to walk, but they get up again and they walk again. Same thing, same concept.
Yeah. So what is the difference between knowing intuitively that something just isn't right for you versus something that is right for you, you just got to keep going? How do you know the difference?
That's a good one. That's a great question. Do you love what you do? Think about that. That's when somebody calls me and asks me to do something. This week, I got a job, a lead, and they want me to do something, and I'm like, am I going to like this doing? Am I going to do a good job? Just think about, it's not only you do an assessment. Okay. Okay. They're going to pay me well. However, do I really want to do this? You got to think about you. It's always, it's not always about business. Because if I love what I'm doing, I will excel. But if I don't like it, it's just a job. So if my company, I love golf. I just told you, I incorporated golf. I love the media. I incorporated the media. PR and marketing, I could do it with my eyes closed. So that's what I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I will work 10 hours a day and I have no problem because it is what I like to do. I recommend that if you're going to do something you love to do.
Yes. 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 And to add on to that, if we don't know what we like to do, then it sounds like we have to get out into the world and do some experimenting.
Mhm.
And just try different things, see what clicks, what resonates with us, what doesn't, and start to build the intuitive sense of what is going to work for us and what isn't. Because correct me if I'm wrong, Doris, you would know more than I do, but intuition is created. It's not just instilled from the get-go. I mean,
Correct.
how much of that is learned versus organic and instilled in us? I mean, what would you say about creating your intuition?
Maybe we automatically create it. Think about it. And then we develop it.
Yeah. Oh, we're getting deep here.
What made you go into graphic design and what you do? Because I've seen your work. It's spectacular.
Thank you. That really means a lot. Oh my gosh. So I was a lucky kid in that I had two really supportive parents. If I wanted to play with photography, they would get me a camera, which at the time was a little film camera, and I would play with developing the film. Later on, when the computer started to become a more normal household item, they got me a computer and I played around with different software. I actually played a lot with creating video. And in high school, I took a video class, learned how to edit and play and add in music and do all the fun stuff. And so I thought I was setting sail for a film school. Well, at that same time, I found out that I had the opportunity to get a full ride scholarship at Caltech, which is a huge engineering school here in California. And so I was like, okay, do I get into the arts or do I take advantage of free college? And I had to sit with that one. And I thought back to all of the different things that I like to do. And unfortunately for my wallet, but fortunately for my soul, I realized that engineering just wasn't it. I had to go into the arts. And so that's when I played and I decided between film school and graphic design. And, I did more soul searching. What did I really like to do? And gosh, if you look through all of my old journals, there are doodles everywhere. Like playing with different typography and, different ways I could play with letters and shapes and colors. And, my old bedroom is a bright teal color with all these band posters that were just so
Nice.
beautiful to look at. Yeah, and I saved like hang tags and stuff from clothes. I mean, I just loved graphic design. And,
Yeah,
long story short, I think that was the right choice for my soul.
there
And
you
I'm
go.
super glad I did that. So yeah, if that's not a lesson for everybody, look, it's choosing not to do something, choosing to do something with passion versus money. The passion will feel more fulfilling in the long run.
Absolutely.
But the money is
Absolutely.
important too. The money is
I
important
know.
too.
I know.
Yeah.
But if you're very good at what you do, the money will come. Think about it.
Ooh,
The money will
yes.
come. And then you
Yeah.
can ask your price.
Ooh. So
Absolutely.
tell us about that. Tell us about asking for your price. I mean, if somebody's not used to stepping into their value and if they don't know their worth yet, how do you practice increasing your own sense of value?
So I believe in three things. I believe in research. You do your research first. How many, let's say a consultant, how much does a consultant, PR consultant charge? So you do your research, okay? Then you develop a strategy, okay? I call it the RSE, research, strategy, execution.
Mm.
All right? That's three things. Research, strategy. So before I became a consultant, I researched it. I created a strategy and then I executed. People will say, we're not going to pay that. Okay. You're going to come across that. You're going to come across people that say, no, I don't need your help or anything like that. No worries. Absolutely. And then 2 weeks later, okay, can we negotiate your salary? So if you don't value your work, who will?
Ooh.
Them? The person that's trying to, bargain you down? Absolutely not. Always give yourself the value. Always be prepared to answer any questions about yourself. It took me years to gather the skills, knowledge. I went for a an election, and a 50-year-old woman was also being a candidate. I am older. I'm in my 60s, a candidate. They picked her because she was younger.
Mm.
Okay. No problem. It took me 24 hours to feel sorry for myself. And after the 24 hours, I said, okay, dust yourself off. What's next?
Ooh.
Okay. Fast forward. Now they're calling me and they're asking me questions. And I said, wait a minute. You have this person that is young and, you voted for her. And they're like, well, she doesn't know what she's doing. So it's not always, I valued myself. I wouldn't take anything less. She did. Oh, yes, I want it. I want it. I want it. Okay. That's what you get. So value yourself, Always stick to your guns. Whatever you charge, stick to it. They will pay for it, and always value you first.
Yes. That is great. That is great advice. It reminds me of a time where I shifted my billing, the way that I billed out for a service. I used to take deposit and then collect the balance on the back end. And then I switched it to 100% upfront, which I realize is a very big risk for my client. But I know that I'm going to show up on time. I'm going to deliver. The product's going to be great and we'll all be happy. Well, I had this one lead who talked me into a 50% deposit, 50% on the back end. And I told him, hey, I don't do that anymore because what I find is that 50% ends up getting convoluted and now there's like a value issue and I don't end up collecting the full amount that I've provided value for already. Long story short, that deal went sour and I should not have caved and gone back to something that I know doesn't work. But what I learned in that was the value in valuing myself, valuing my work. And we can only learn that through just getting in there, throwing some punches, figuring out what the world is about, figuring out what our business is about and learning. We're
Yep.
not going to be perfect up front.
You're always learning, always learning. That reminds me of another book. Let me get it really quick.
Doris, you
I
have all these
love to
awesome
read.
recommendations. I love it.
It's a book called The Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown.
Ooh, yes.
She's amazing. We're not all perfect. We make mistakes. You learn, but it talks also about being authentic with yourself and with other people, which is something that we need to work on because you want to be a people pleaser. You want clients, you want this, but you got to be authentic. One of my clients was calling me and they shifted owners. So the new owner is giving me instructions, but the old owner is sending me emails. Okay. So it's tug of war. And I said, okay, that's it. Picked up the phone and I said, that's enough. Who's going to give me the orders? One person. Be authentic, put your foot down. This is the way. You gotta, respect my time, I said to them. You
Hmm.
respect my time.
Hmm.
Who's gonna give me the orders and what am I gonna do? It was hard.
Yeah.
Um, it was hard. And then afterwards I said, oh my God, they're the clients, they're always right. But now only one person is sending me the information.
Yes.
So you have to put your
Yes.
foot down sometimes, and it's not easy.
It's not because I imagine going through your head at that moment was maybe a little scarcity reel. Like if I put my foot down, then they're going to fire me and now I'm out of a client. I got to get somebody else.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's important to hold our boundaries. And on that note, how do we hold our boundaries both as business owners and as parents? What does that look like?
Boundaries is something very, very important. Okay. So I used to work like 10 hours and people would text me 7 o'clock in the morning, 6:30 in the morning, 10 o'clock at night. And I said, I read another book that talked about boundaries because you don't have a life. So I took my phone and now I block all the calls that come in before 9 o'clock in the morning, unless they're my daughters. And I block the calls after 5 o'clock unless they're my daughters. I do not answer emails and they come through my phone. But I do not answer emails until the next day at 9 o'clock in the morning. Respect my boundaries. It's the only way you're going to have a life, you know? And if you don't do it, nobody will do it for you. You're
Yeah.
not going to lose a client because you didn't respond at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
the next day, respect it. And once they get used to that, it works.
Yeah, yeah. So what we're
Yeah.
learning is if a client doesn't respect your boundaries, or if a client isn't willing to pay your price, or if a client is trying to talk you down into something you're uncomfortable with, then it's just not a good match. And that's okay. They can find somebody else. You are bound to get more clients or more customers or whoever it is that your business model entertains. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Doris, this has been an amazing conversation. Can you tell us where people can find you?
My website is dorisbusinessdevelopment.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, and I'm on social media a lot. I have a TikTok and everything, and they're welcome to, there is a 15-minute conference that they're welcome to go online and just schedule, and I'll be happy to help them in any way I can. And thank you for having me. It's been great. Hope we continue to work together. Your work is amazing. And but yeah, I want to keep on working with you. Absolutely.
We definitely will. I so love having you in my circle. You're just such a lovely, bright light, and you're inspiring as heck. Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
You're amazing. Thank you for being on the show, Doris.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us on Bringing Up Business. If you could, please take a moment to subscribe to and rate the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow us on Instagram at bub.podcast. That's BUB.podcast. Finally, we'd love to get your feedback. If you have a comment or a guest idea, please let us know on our website, bringingupbusiness.com. Until next time, thanks for joining us. Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Say bye-bye. See you later.
Bye-bye. See you later.
This recording is for informational purposes only and should not be considered business advice. Opinions expressed are as of the date of recording and are subject to change without notice. The views and opinions of guests on this program are not necessarily those of Umari Digital and its affiliates, which together we refer to as Umari Digital. Umari Digital is not affiliated with guests or their business affiliates unless otherwise stated. Umari Digital does not guarantee the accuracy or the completeness of the data presented herein. This recording is for informational purposes only, and the information, data, analysis, or opinion it includes or their use should not be considered business, financial, or legal advice. Umari Digital shall not be responsible for any decisions, damages, or other losses resulting from or related to the information, data, analysis, or opinions or their use. All business decisions are subject to risk, including possible loss of capital. Individuals should seriously consider if a decision is suitable for them by referencing their own financial position. Thank you.